All right, so it already started getting hot enough where both Darren and I had to take off our coats. And this just reminded me, hey, when we're out trying to get Roundup to work, you want the weather warm. All right, if the weather's cold, and especially the nighttime temps, it's not the daytime temps, it's the nighttime temps, because what happens is your plants shut down overnight. Well, that's not good. So temperature is huge, but a lot of people are talking about what can I throw with my Roundup in corn to get great broadleaf control going into this spring.
Okay, let's look at what weeds that we've got out there and what our product choices are that we could mix right with Roundup. When you think of the broadleaf weed control products in corn, probably the most popular ones the last few years have been the HPPDs. We look at Callisto, Laudus, Impact, Armazon. Not only do they have a little bit of residual, adding one of those HPPDs isn't going to burn your corn at all, and we're going to do a pretty nice job on a broad spectrum of weeds.
Now, I always tell people, don't get oversold on that whole residual thing. I'm much more happy with the burn down activity, the contact activity, than I am the residual. But the residual is kind of a nice little bonus. I would also say we got to be a little bit careful on the rate, because if you have point rows and you don't have a sprayer yet that automatically shuts off when you get to those point rows, and you double up or triple up, all of a sudden, especially if you were using full rate to begin with thrown in with your Roundup, you may have some carryover issues and possibly even crop injury.
Now that's a point that I want to make. Okay, so when we first started tank mixing things with Roundup, it's back when Roundup was really still working on all the weeds, but you know, let's just add a little kicker in there, then we don't have to go such a high rate of Roundup. And really you can only go so high in corn to start with. You can't go with a super big rate. And so we're looking at, oh, let's put a half rate of this or half rate of that in. Half rates do not cut it anymore. We've got to use a full rate or very close to it. Get out there with that full rate. Make sure you hit those weeds with a hammer so they don't come back. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems.
Okay, and that brings me to the next point, which is adjuvants. All right, so on the Callisto label, they're going to tell you, hey, if you could use a crop oil, for example, you're going to have better activity than non-ionic surfactant. But then you talk to Monsanto or anybody selling you glyphosate, and they're going to say, well, we just want non-ionic surfactant in. Okay, the reason why they want non-ionic surfactant in, they just don't want any crop injury. I will tell you, if it was me on my farm and I had Roundup resistant weeds, I'm throwing in crop oil, okay? I don't care about the Roundup, and I don't care about a few little speckles that I'm gonna get in my corn. It doesn't matter, it's not gonna hurt your yield anyway. If we don't have weed kill, we're gonna lose 5 or 10 bushels real easy that way.
Let's look at another product that gets talked about a lot. Dicamba. Now there are mixes like Status, for example, where you've got not only Dicamba, you have diflufenzacapur in there.
A tiny amount of Dicamba, and that's a big misconception here. Everybody wants to lump Status in with Dicamba. I don't all that much because it's a very small rate.
There is Dicamba in both. That's what I'm getting at.
Yep.
But yes, when you think about Status, wow, that diflufenzacapur in the Status really heats things up and really helps with weed control. So if you can get Status, I know it's in very tight supply across the country, that's still the best choice compared to a straight Dicamba.
The supply really isn't that tight. There's plenty of Status available. It's just at a really high price. The other choice you have, if you like Dicamba, but you felt, it's kind of hard on my crop. I don't like that injury that I'm getting when I'm spraying Clarity or Banville. Use Diflex. That's got the same safener in there as what the Status would have. So there are a lot of people looking at that as well.
Okay, what about Atrazine? We get lots of questions every year about...
Just keep your rate low. We would tell you, if you want to get a little more kick out of your Callisto or Armazon, Impact, Laudus, for that matter even Status, and especially Buctril, throw a little Atrazine in and use the Roundup too.
Now, of course, if you do that, then you're limited by the Atrazine label to 12-inch tall corn. And you do have to watch that with the other products as well. You don't want the corn getting too big and getting off label. But if you're out there early enough in the year, Atrazine can add some residual if your rotation allows you to use the Atrazine.
But it's not going to add much residual if you're using a 1/4 pound or a 1/2 pound. And we would tell you, hey, unless you're going to corn or sorghum, you better make sure you're under 1 pound. And unless you're going to plant soybeans, then you better be under 1/2 pound. And really, quite frankly, if you're going to plant wheat or something like that, don't even think about using Atrazine. Too much risk.
All right, you did mention one product there that really isn't getting a lot of attention out there. It's Buctril. It used to be very widely used across the country. It's a contact killer, no residual, but it's pretty good on a number of weeds.
Especially for wild buckwheat. A lot of people are throwing in 1/2 pint, basically, of Buctril along with their Roundup, because Roundup has a little activity on wild buckwheat. It's just not real great. So you throw a little bit of Buctril in, it's dirt cheap. Okay, you do that. Hey, now I've got good activity on that. Plus, I get a little more activity on lamb's quarters, on kochia, on a few other weeds. Just understand that Buctril is pretty weak on pigweeds.
And probably the most popular premix across the country that we hear about in corn is Halex GT. Tell us about that.
Well, the big thing here is you're trying to do it all in one. It's these guys that want to run out with one pass. So basically, I've got my glyphosate, I got my dual, I got my Laudus in there. Yeah, it's a nice product. I like it. behind a pre. In other words, I would put a pre on first to make sure I get good weed control early, and then I come with a Halex, and now I really extend my window, and I'm going to have great weed control season long. So I just am not real big on this one pass idea, because we know that when we have weeds come up, it's going to hurt our yield. Don't ever listen to anybody that tells you you can let the weeds get 4 inches tall and not hurt your yield. All I can tell you is this: they don't farm because they don't understand that, hey, I get any weeds up, I just lost yield.
Hey, one last myth that we're hearing about is, grass control isn't that big a deal in corn anymore. I'm mainly concerned about my broadleaf weeds.
Yeah, and that's absolutely crazy. Grass is still the biggest yield robber in corn. I would just tell you, yeah, you might get some broadleaf problems in corn. We can clean those up, okay? Use a pre-emerge herbicide, come back with something, combination together with glyphosate, whether it's the premix like Halex or you mix your own, I don't care. Just get something else along with your Roundup, you're gonna be just fine. But understand that, hey, Roundup is still working on most grasses, so this is awesome. If I can get 2 shots on grasses, I get a much better chance for higher yields.
Well, one broadleaf weed that we're still having trouble with in corn is our Weed of the Week. We'll show you how to stop this weed coming up next.